Say feel that bass. We gon' shake up.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Spartan Boxing Radio Show. It's Dave, Joey, Corling, and our special guest, Dawn, directly from Are you in San Diego, California, Dawn?
Yes.
From San Diego,
San
California.
Diego.
Stay classy.
The Dago.
Stay classy.
And we're here to talk about a couple of things that are weighing on Joey's mind and on Corling's mind. And it's not weighing on my mind at all because
Definitely weighing on my mind.
It's definitely weighing on her mind.
After reading the complaint filed by Terence Crawford on Top Rank, it's just not weighing on my mind anymore at all. So we're going to
this wasn't
about that.
The other things were.
We're going to talk about that, about Terence Crawford suing Top Rank and Bob Arum and Tot Duboff. A lot of misspellings in that complaint. And we're also going to talk about things that Tim Smith has said on a podcast, which I smell a rat. And I'll get into that later with regards to that. With something that I read in this complaint, it just seems pretty odd and pretty convenient that suddenly they're coming out with these comments over at the PBC after reading what it says in this complaint. So that there may be some correlation between those 2 points. And the other thing we're talking about is Al Heyman. Again, Corling's favorite topic, Al Heyman.
The best.
The best.
He is.
So I'm going to open the floor for you guys.
He's the best at a lot of things. And let's not forget, we can talk a little bit about Canelo and what he would possibly do next, whether he's getting into that Bivol contract with the
That's a lot to talk about.
Golovkin fight. And there's also allegedly $50 million allegedly from the PBC.
Don't do that.
You know how their $50 million offers work. For him to fight Jamal Charlo, I'm guessing at 168 because I don't think Canelo will go back down to 160. But if we get to that, we get to that. If we don't, fuck Jamal Charlo. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So which one do you guys want to talk about first?
Let's do the lawsuit. Let's do the lawsuit, and then we'll do Spence Crawford and Al Heyman.
So
This
January
conversation
12th.
should have happened last week, in my opinion.
January
But hey,
12th, this claim was filed by Terence Crawford on Top Rank, claiming breach of contract, claiming gross racial bias, and a couple of other things in this complaint. And this was after ending his agreement. His agreement was to finish on December 31st of 2021. And basically, Terence Crawford cutting ties with Top Rank. So what would you guys like to talk about that?
Anyone? Bueller?
Corling.
Bueller?
Come on, Corling.
You want me to go first? All right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're talking about getting away from Top Rank, you know me, I'm all for it. And the reasons why I'm all for it is it's obvious. I could have bought a house in Beverly Hills with all the money that I've lost on Bud, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people like to ignore that comment, right? But that comment exists. And it has just a long-lasting effect on Bud Crawford, on his potential marketability, and on what he could be. We'll segue into that, into Bud versus Spence a little bit later. But you even have Bob Arum, he said these things, right? After the Porter and Crawford fight, Eddie Hearn actually expressed, he was like, I wouldn't sign Terence Crawford because he doesn't make any money. The thing is that if you are a promoter, and if you really want to promote your guy, and if you want to make him into the quote unquote household name, where all the casuals, they're going to know him, they're going to know his name, they're going to follow him, and eventually, what's the holy grail? Buying their pay-per-views. Why would you put that type of energy into the building?
Let me ask you a question. Mr. Durance Jr. Let me ask you. So Top Rank didn't do a good job. Bob Arum said he lost millions of dollars. He could have built the house in Beverly Hills.
That was said.
Eddie Hearn is on record of saying,
Mhm.
I won't sign him because you're going to have to grossly overpay for him.
Mhm.
And he just isn't the draw. He's an amazing talent. He's just not the draw to bring in the money, right? What did the PBC say?
What did the PBC say? Pretty much the same thing that
The same thing, right?
Initially.
Okay. So stop. Let's not talk about who's promoting and who's not promoting, because
Okay.
it all comes down to dollars and bucks, dollars and cents.
Right.
Business.
And they're saying that there's no dollars and it makes no sense to make that fight. That's what they're saying. But their guy's supposed to be the big star, right? He's the big pay-per-view draw, right?
Okay. Go ahead.
What's the problem?
I'll let you go
What's
ahead.
the problem? You can make him and Mikey. You can make
Mhm.
him and Porter, who has no
Right.
fan base. You can
Right.
make him and Danny, who's already been through the mill and lost every big fight that he's ever been in, basically.
Mhm.
You can make those fights and you can put them on pay-per-view, but you can't
Mhm.
make the fight with Terence Crawford because there's not enough money in it. You don't want to insult him, right? So they're saying the same stuff that Bob
Mhm.
Arum's saying. Terence is going to
Even
want
Ellerby's
10 or
saying
$15 million. Huh?
Mhm.
Whatever. It's fine.
Mhm.
But don't single those two out when you're, when you're Al or whatever he does, Tim Smith
Mhm.
or whatever they do, whatever hat they're wearing today, they said the
Right.
same fucking thing.
Let Corley talk.
Well, you're saying that they said the same thing. Once again, where did that original thought and that original idea come from? Like I said, Tim
Came
Smith,
from money.
It's about money, man. It's
Tim
about
Smith,
money.
He can, but hold on, listen. Tim Smith, he can say what the fuck he wants, as far as I'm concerned. His word doesn't mean shit to me. Now, Bob Arum is the one that actually had Bud. He's the one that actually had the job of promoter for years for Bud Crawford. Now, before Bob Arum, Bud was with what? Cameron Duncan. That's who Bradley was
Right.
with. I never heard anything like that coming from Cameron Duncan. I never heard that shit.
Cameron Duncan got him
Why?
in big fights? What
But-
big fight did Cameron Duncan get him in?
He's still trying to promote his guy, though. That's the thing. Can't you say that because of Cameron Duncan's efforts, he parlayed that into a bigger contract with Bob Arum? Can't you say that? He's the one that was, he
No.
kind of used Cameron
His
Duncan.
His talents tell me that.
Okay,
Here's
so
my
if the
question
talent,
to you guys.
but hold on, real quick. If the talent tells you that, then why in the fuck is Bob Arum going to come through and he's going to make that comment when he had them? No, that's something that you don't do. You can go ahead, David, but nothing erases that comment that he made.
But here's the thing, Corling.
Mm,
There is something called numbers. And
there's some called numbers.
I don't know. Can any of you say that Terence Crawford didn't get any opportunities at Top Rank?
No, he didn't.
No,
Because
he got
Terence
them all.
Crawford was a champion in 3 divisions. He unified a whole division, and he made more money in the last 5 years than any of the top fighters not called Fury in Top Rank in the last couple of years.
More than Lomachenko, more than
Lomachenko,
Teofimo.
more than
What
Teofimo.
about isn't this separate from the ESPN deal too?
So here's what I'm going to do right now.
Mm.
I'm going to read the introduction to you guys, and I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share the screen with you guys so you can see the introduction, and I'll just loosely read it really quick. It says, for years, professional boxers and others in the sport world has called out Top Rank's owner, Bob Arum, for his treatment of black boxers, including those very same black boxers that Top Rank is contractually obligated to promote. Because this is boxing, a sport with a checkered history, and because Arum is now dismissed as just a grumpy old white man, Arum continues to make racist and bigoted statements and purposefully damage the reputations of black boxers without any consequences. This is generally because the affected boxers who are in long-term contracts with Top Rank fear that if they speak up, they will be placed on the sideline and not given the opportunity to fight during the life of their deal, which could be 5 to 7 years. Less than 2 weeks before the complaint was filed, Top Rank through Arum, called World Boxing Council WBC, interim heavyweight champion Dillian White, a black man, greedy for requesting what he believes to be a fair dollar amount to fight WBC lineal heavyweight champion and Ring Magazine heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, a white man. Meanwhile, Top Rank President Todd Duboff, who is fully aware of Arum's racist statements and disparate treatment of black boxers, keeps his mouth shut, waiting to take the helm of Top Rank after Arum dies or retires. Since Top Rank and Duboff will not police themselves, do the right thing, and move forward as a responsible business in 2022, Crawford, who backs down to no one, will make them do so. By this lawsuit, Crawford shines a spotlight on the systemic racism that runs through Top Rank. Top Rank's complete inability to properly promote black fighters, and Top Rank, Arum, and Duboff disparate treatment of black fighters, including Crawford. That's the introduction. The very next line is all the accomplishments that Crawford has garnered while on his time with Top Rank, which is it's just, I'm telling you, this reads like a comedy writer from, say, John Oliver or SNL wrote this and threw it together real quick just to file a lawsuit, and really didn't think about what they were writing. There are many.
If you were,
there's 23 pages in this lawsuit, in
but
this,
if
in
you're
this complaint.
If you're trying to paint a picture of Bob Arum, why immediately after your initial opening, let's call it, would you put in all of the stuff, all of the good things that Terence Crawford was able to do under Bob Arum?
And the point that they're really singling out that, oh,
this is hilarious.
Look at Dillian White, who is a black man, was turned down. His offer was turned down. My question is, does Top Rank represent Dillian White, or does Top Rank represent Fury? Top Rank represents Fury. So
Fury.
it has no merit, and it's not even, to call somebody greedy is not racist. I
guarantee you can go back in Bob Arum's history and find where he called a white guy greedy, and that gets thrown right.
He
gets
called
thrown
a Mexican
right.
guy
that
greedy.
goes right in the toilet bowl, right
he
there.
Called Mikey Garcia greedy. He called Mikey Garcia a bunch of stuff.
Rigondeaux.
This is something that they're bringing up, stuff that happened in the 1970s. They're bringing stuff that happened just to try to paint a picture that this is all happening because of systemic racism. And it's very difficult to read and to take seriously.
Well, and Bob is a lawyer too. He's not. This isn't gonna move him. He's probably laughing at this like we are.
Bob is a lawyer and all that, but he's spent most of his career in the not practicing. He's spent most of his career promoting.
He did lose his lawsuit to Heyman. Well, he
didn't lose it. He dropped it.
He dropped
it. Yeah. But there was a negotiation between them, right? Where they're like, okay, we'll fight, we'll do certain things. But why did he drop it? Because he was basically saying that Heyman was a promoter and also being a manager at the same time, which is not allowed according to the Ali Act. So
here are all
why was it dropped?
Here are all the things that
why was it brought up though? That's the more interesting question. But go ahead, Dave.
Well, anyway, the point is that all these things, and the theme, like for example, at the end, Crawford is also a proud black fighter. That's great. It's almost like they're trying to bring a racial component into the way this complaint is worded, that it's just pieced together. It almost sounds like somebody's grievance who got caught not doing what they were supposed to doing at work, and then using a race card to defend themselves and to say, well, it's not my fault, it's their fault,
Oh.
But
I'm a big Crawford fan. This is embarrassing for him. This is embarrassing for him.
And not only that, but there is also in here, and I'll bring it up. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. Where they're claiming, and here it is. Let me share this real quick. Share the screen. Number 4. Okay. In this action, Crawford seeks to right the wrongs inflicted on him by Top Rank. Top Rank has repeatedly breached his contracts with Crawford, and in fact defrauded him into entering agreements in the first place. Even while Top Rank openly criticized Crawford, they pushed him into agreeing to a fight with Gidigis Kavaliauskas. Not because that was best for Crawford's career, but because Top Rank needed to fulfill its obligations to ESPN. Now, Crawford and team are claiming that they turned down $4 million for the Kavaliauskas fight, and they are claiming that Bob and Todd promised him a fight with Spence and added a $900,000 clause to the contract so that to provide a fight with Spence within a certain time period. If Spence was available and able to fight. Now that period of time was the period of time the fight obviously didn't happen in that period of time, and they weren't able to produce it because Spence had a car accident and was in
And then there was COVID.
and was in recovery. They're claiming that Top Rank didn't, and this is where the breach of contract comes. They're claiming that Top Rank was supposed to get Crawford 2 fights per year, and they did that the first year. The second year, they did not, between the dates of October of 2019 and October of 2020, which basically was during the time of COVID.
Lots of people only fought once.
They're claiming that they didn't get paid for the Spence fight because they didn't get paid for it. And they claim that Spence was healthy during that time, and Spence was not healthy during that time. Spence wasn't fighting during that time. Spence had his accident in November of 2019, if I'm not mistaken, and didn't come back till December of 2020. So during the time periods that they're claiming that there was a breach of contract, Spence wasn't available to fight. So even if they could have done a deal with Spence, they couldn't do a deal with Spence because he wasn't healthy to fight. So there's a lot of inconsistencies. There's a lot of contradictions. There's a lot of wording here. There's a lot of incoherent rambling about how, well, he in the 70s was involved with South Africa and the apartheid and all. And they're bringing all this stuff into this complaint that really, it doesn't add up. It just doesn't explain where the breach was. So I don't know how this is going to fly. And they're paying this guy, I'm looking at here,
Corling's smiling. I want to know how you think Bud Crawford wins this case.
If he feels he can win it, then hey, go for it.
I'm not asking you what he feels. I'm asking you what you think.
I mean,
he's not on the podcast. You are.
Look, do I think that he can win it? I don't know. I'm not a legal expert, right? But I hope that he has a little bit more. I hope that they're still in a discovery period. I hope that this gets resolved in Bud Crawford's favor. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to present this case. Based off of what he has, it looks a little bit weak. But hey, and it seems real abstract. Like I want meat on the bones. I want something concrete. Right. if you're talking about racism, right? you're talking about being held back from opportunities because of who you are, how you look, blah, blah, blah. So I need to see those examples of him getting held back. Now, he's saying lack of a Spence fight, and that's what he was promised. Like we said, you're talking about things like COVID. That's one of the reasons why Fury and Wilder 3 couldn't happen at the time that it was supposed to happen.
Right.
Because of COVID. They couldn't get any fans in the stands. There was no asses in the seats. And that's what they wanted to get in order to maximize that dollar, right? And it seems like, through Wilder's arbitration and, all that, right? It seems that it kind of worked out, in their favor. Fury got paid, Wilder got paid, everybody got paid, and it was cool. But another thing that I was laughing at, though, is you kind of see a stark contrast and a big difference in how people conduct business. And you can't conduct business emotionally, regardless of how Terence Crawford feels, right? And obviously, it seems like, he's wanted one fight. He wanted the Spence fight, but he couldn't get it for whatever reason. And he seems emotional about that. You can't deal in business emotionally. You have to have a clear head, clear mind, clear thoughts. Just like David said, you don't want to have anything conflicting, anything that the other side.
He got to a point where he was saying, like,
I don't need. I don't want it. I don't need it.
No. He said, I don't need the fight, because he figured he was never going to get it anyway. He was kind of like, I mean, he said it in one or two interviews. Sure.
No, there's a lot of interviews where he's saying, I don't need him. Like, he kept saying, I don't need him. I don't need him. He said it publicly a lot.
When you're a professional athlete and you get asked the same question over and over and over and over again, you're going to sit there and say,
right, but he did set that tone. He did set it where I don't need Spence. So what's Spence going to do?
I've only seen like one or two like interviews with like legit journalists or, legit podcast guys or, what I mean, YouTube guys, where he said, I don't need the fight for my legacy. He didn't say he didn't need to fight. He said, I don't need it for my legacy. Does he want to fight? Yes. He was downplaying it because he was sick of hearing about it.
So, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. And this is what I was going to say initially. One side does business quietly. They do it calm.
One side does it quietly and calmly because it's in-house. They don't have to make a big deal out here because it's in-house.
Devoid of emotion.
Get the fuck out of here with that.
And if you wanna talk about out-of-house fights, we can do that all day long. We can talk about Wilder and Fury 1, and it was no confusion. One. And there was no confusion about anything. There was no blow-by-blow of site fees, gate revenue.
Let me ask you a question.
But wait.
I don't want to wait because I'm not going to let you ramble on and bring up some fucking example that's bullshit. It's a bullshit example. The heavyweight division sucks, bro. The heavyweight division sucks. You're not going to use that as a defense.
You just said this. Don, what did you just say? He put the energy out there. Now this energy is coming into a big mass ball of an incoherent lawsuit and all this. Meanwhile, the other side is sitting there doing business, getting shit done, and everything is fine. You don't hear any of this crap. It's not even a topic.
But there
when
is
we're talking
president.
about how
There's president. When those comments come out, is because there's precedent. There is a track record of Bud not being able to draw people into pay-per-views. That's not a lie. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
So
yeah. Wait a minute. Bud's had what, 3 pay-per-views?
No, you know what?
3
Just do the numbers for the Porter fight. If you do the gate numbers of profit, if you do the pay-per-views of profit, it literally comes up the profit with Bud getting his 6 mil, Porter getting his 4 mil, the profit comes out to 4,761,000 basically, and whatever is there, but 4 million. So maybe you give him Bud another mil, you give Porter another mil, and whatever.
Now here's
left or whoever, and how they split things up. It's barely coming even.
Hey, man.
Barely.
Yeah, they barely come even, and that's the thing.
Something that I want to point out to you guys, and I'm going to share it real quick. Now, this is one of the important things that Top Rank breaches the the promotional rights. Now Crawford signed with Top Rank in 2011, and they did an extension, a new contract in 2018 for 3 years. And it says here, pursuant to the 2018 agreement, Top Rank was obliged to offer Crawford 2 fights per year for each of the years between October 13th, 2018 and October 12th, 2019. October 13, 2019 and October 12, 2020. October 13th, 2020 and October 12th, 2021. During the first year of the 2018 agreement, Top Rank offered Crawford 2 fights between October 13th and October 12th of 2019. One with Jose Benavidez, and the other one with Amir Khan. They paid him $3.5 million plus another $45,000 for expenses for the Benavidez fight, and $4.8 million
Plus 50,000.
plus $50,000 for training for the Amir Khan bout. Now, during the second year of the agreement, Top Rank only offered Crawford 1 fight. And I'm going to share that screen with you right now. There we go. And it was between October 13th, 2019 and October 12th, 2020, which was the bout with Jidijus Kavaliuska. I can never say that name.
Kavaliauskas.
The fight
Just
was
call him Mean Machine.
Mean Machine Kavaliauskas. The fight was signed, I believe, in September, and the fight happened in December. And he was paid $4 million plus another $50,000. And they failed to offer him a second fight during that year. After the fight in December, what came?
What year was that?
December 2019. After that fight, COVID came. COVID
Right.
was already doing the rounds. That was the fight. We actually went to that fight. Joey and I went
Yep.
to the Kavaliauskas fight.
COVID came about. We started hearing rumblings in January, and it was full blown in March.
Wasn't that was Tiafimo and Richard Comey on the undercard?
Yes, and
Yes.
Top Rank wasn't the only outfit not putting fights together. PBC wasn't putting fights together. Matchroom Boxing wasn't putting fights together.
Matter of fact, the first card that was put together was the one that was canceled right when the outbreak started, right when the whole shutdown started, which was a Shakur Stevenson fight. Was supposed to fight that Saturday, which was March 14th. And he ends up fighting 3 months later in June. They were the first ones to put a card on.
Yeah,
So-
remember they put on that Top Rank bubble, and they had all those fights. They almost had fights every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Like all these boxers were on. I remember.
And
Now,
once they were able
maybe
to-
it was
once-
impossible.
Once they
to
were
offer,
able to put on a fight for Crawford, they gave him the Kell Brook fight, and then they gave him the Sean Porter fight for the next year on the contract. So they were able to produce those 2 extra fights. They paid him $3.5 million for the Brook fight and $6 million for the Porter fight, plus the expenses. Okay, so would you consider it a breach of contract? Technically, probably so.
technically, yeah.
But there's some extenuating circumstances involved in that, and I don't see how a jury is going to side with anybody. I don't care what color or race.
Unless nothing is what's written in the
You
contract.
you
what I
get
mean?
somebody in the jury that was really affected by COVID. Terence Crawford is not winning this.
Now, here's the thing about the Kavaliauskas agreement, and it's written here. It says that on October 11th, 2019, Top Rank and Crawford entered into a championship bout agreement for 12 rounds for Crawford to defend against Kavaliauskas. Bob and Arum negotiated the bout with Crawford on Top Rank's behalf. During the negotiations, in or about October of 2019, Crawford and his negotiating team informed Arum that they would not take the fight for $4 million that was being offered to him. So he declined that fight. Arum and DeBuff informed Crawford that he should take the offer because a fight with Errol Spence Jr. Spence was right around the corner, and that Top Rank could quickly make Spence Crawford fight happen. In fact, Arum and DeBuff said Top Rank would include a Spence bonus in the 2019 bout agreement. So it'd be interesting to see that agreement when it's produced. And I may be able to download it once they put it into the docket. In excess of $900,000, which is they're going to call the Arum DeBoeuf Spence representations, because they were confident that they would make a fight with Crawford and Spence before the end of 2020. And this made the Kavaliauskas fight worth it for Crawford. Okay? So, let me get to the next page.
Share it.
I'm going to share it right now. Can you see it?
Yeah, you're zoomed in a little too close.
Hold on. You see it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
All right. Crawford agreed to fight Kavaliauskas under the money terms offered to him. Kavaliauskas' bout agreement contained a bonus provision that entitled Crawford to a bonus in excess of $900,000, which Top Rank was required to pay Crawford on or before December 31st, 2020, if Errol Spence Jr. was physically able to compete in professional boxing, and Top Rank was unable to offer Crawford a fight with Spence on or before December 31st, 2020. Crawford will provide the court with a copy of the 2019 Kavaliauskas bout agreement upon Top Rank's approval. So in this case, and I'm going to keep reading, which there's some inconsistencies regarding that. In this case, as we read it there, then Top Rank would be responsible to pay for that $900,000 what do you call it, bonus, because they were unable to get Spence to fight. But Top Rank can come back and say, well, during that time period, Spence was not able to fight during a large period of the time frame, so the fight was not, we were not able to make the fight. So this is what they're claiming.
I see. They spelled it Spencer.
Yeah, but further down,
Right there.
further
44.
down, and
They
I'm not
called
gonna-
him Spencer.
I'm not going to keep going through the pages, but further down, then they say that this bonus was to be paid if they could get the fight, if they couldn't get the fight made between the second year, which is October of 2019 through October of 2020, which is completely different from what that first section read. So, during those periods of time, where was Spence?
He was out because of the car accident.
He was out.
But if you're
because of the
talking
car
about 2020, at that time, I think he already signed to fight Danny, and he was in camp, right?
October of 2019.
He wanted
Mhm.
to fight
October
Danny
of
in March.
2020.
Remember, Danny jumped in the ring after he beat Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Danny jumped in the ring,
Right.
and then he had a car accident a month later. So the
Right.
fight with Danny that was supposed to be signed already, done deal.
It was already done. Yep.
Because it's WWE over there where they jump in the ring on each other.
Right.
That doesn't happen because he had the car accident. When did the doctor say that he was physically able to fight? We don't know, right? But if the fight,
I don't know.
if the fight with Danny Garcia was going to go down no matter what,
Mm-hmm.
then Terence Crawford's case holds no water.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, even
Right.
if he's just a portion of the time unable to fight, they can still claim. They can still.
Right. They
can
could claim
argue-
Errol was unavailable.
They can argue that Errol wasn't available during that period of time, so it was
Right.
impossible for them to make the fight. So
Right.
they bring stuff here up about Dana White and the UFC, and I'm going to share this with you too, so you see it.
I don't want to overdo it with this because I don't want to bore everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, so you can see the scope of the jumping around that there is here. They're talking about Dana White saying that Arum is pay your fucking fighter, Arum piece of shit. A lot of things that I'm not sure that they add to this claim that they filed. And
I don't
think it tracks
understand
from
why
it.
that would be in like a legal document, like just some guy that's technically part of another sport on a rant, and you're going to include that in your legal documentation.
They
in
have
a
stuff
lawsuit.
from 1970s. They have stuff from the 1950s.
That's
They have
what-
stuff
Emotional.
and
I'm,
it's
I'm,
all
I'm,
emotional.
I'm,
It's that.
I'll
It's
make a
emotional.
promise that I never think about this lawsuit after this podcast. I'm
Emotional.
now I'm with David. This is a waste of time.
You guys
This is a
know
waste of time.
that I'm probably one of Terence Crawford's biggest fans, and
Probably.
that's not a secret. And I'm
Right.
still a fan of Terence Crawford, and I still think he whoops Spence's ass any day of the week, including Saturdays and Sundays.
Hmm.
And
Especially on Saturdays.
especially on Saturdays. But when I see stuff like this, to me it seems like somebody is in his ear, and to me
Right.
it seems like somebody is just looking to.
Tim Smith. Tim Smith.
Well,
did it.
I don't know who it is, and I'm not gonna, speculate. But it's just I find it really convenient that one of the claims that they have here is that that Top Rank has devalued Crawford's worth with other
That's
promoters.
so
For
that
then suddenly Tim
could be the
Smith come out and say, "Oh yeah, he's not worth any money," that's the rat that I was alluding to earlier. So whether it's
What was Dawn going to say? What were you saying, Dawn?
I was saying that could be the only thing that there's probably some meat in that. If, of all the things that's out there, that could be the one thing that they could try and the fact that
They're trying
Arum
to
is saying that.
validate.
But this is about being like a racial bias against a black fighter.
Well, there's different components in this. It's breach of contract, and there's racial bias also involved in this. So there's two different components to this.
It seems like
If Arum's statements devalued him, then I can see them having an argument in that sense.
That's what I've been trying to say.
But the question is,
I'm gonna throw a butt at you because you got but fuck you. But 90% of it is trash. 90% of it.
90% of it.
We read enough.
Okay.
Everyone at home is saying, "Move the fuck on." That's what they're saying.
And then here's the thing, Corling. If you buy a car, I'm going to use this.
Mm-hmm.
You buy a car, and to you it's a great car, and then you start driving it for a couple of years, and then suddenly the car is just not as great as you thought it was, and it's breaking down, and it's not, getting you places.
Mm-hmm.
That experience you've had with the car has changed the way you think about the car, and it's going to change the way you talk about the car. Suddenly you no longer love it as much, and suddenly the car, it's not that good. So there's a history here with Terence Crawford not drawing people into pay-per-views, and that's what I was saying earlier. So does Bob have a right to come and say, look, the guy is not pulling money, having those numbers there to corroborate that? Because there's something called defamation, but it's not defamation, it's not slander if what you're saying is true.
Bob can say whatever he wants about or he can say whatever he wants a fighter, as long as it's not his fighter. Bob can talk shit about every PBC fighter, and that's cool. And he can talk shit about every Matchroom fighter. He can talk shit about Eddie. He can do whatever. His own fighter. And you see how this had an indelible effect on everybody else's thoughts and feelings thereafter. I know y'all hate it, but this is what happened.
I don't hate
These are the
it.
facts.
And I think that you have a point.
I don't care.
I think you have a point there, because
it's the only point that I can sit here and drive home, because this shit was said. Who the fuck says that? And for what reason?
Somebody who's seriously losing money, though.
Yeah, maybe someone who was really losing money.
He probably really was losing money.
Look at this. For all the shit I have to say about Eddie Hearn be lying his ass off, right? That dude fucking tries. He's not gonna sit here and he's not gonna say that bullshit talking about, I can do this and I can do that with my money rather than promote my guy. No, Eddie actually tries to go to bat for his guys. And that's what the fuck you're supposed to do. He tries.
Until he
Bob?
can't make money off of them anymore.
Wait a minute. So he's been trying with Andrade, and Eddie, maybe he takes the stance that everybody's scared of him. You know, it doesn't matter if it's bullshit or not. You know, he's taking that stance. But has he had Andrade that long? Has he had him as long as Bob has had Crawford? Because remember, the whole 135, or most of the 135 and the 140 career is with Arum. He had a unification fight with Victor Postal, and that fight did shit numbers.
Like
On
50,
paper.
50,000.
Crawford in his own right, in his own weight class, is a lot like Golovkin. He needs a name to draw big numbers, but he will sell seats. People want to see him live. People will go. I've been to several Golovkin fights, and I've been to several Terence Crawford fights, and it's pretty full. They do well live. They just don't sell pay-per-views. They're not a draw to the casual fan, and that's where boxing makes its money on a pay-per-view. It's the casuals.
Right.
When you can sell, you know, when you can sell Mikey Garcia against Spence to, you know, maybe it was a smart thing because he's Mexican. That's the biggest fan base in boxing. But that's a smart way to go. But
Quick question.
go ahead.
Do you guys know, aside from Bob Arum, who owns Top Rank? There's two people that are the founders in it that are on the pink slip of who own Top Rank.
Well, then there's got to be someone that's quiet. So who is it?
I'd have to look
Well,
at
I
the
guess it's
registry in Vegas.
So
to see who owns it.
basically, his name is Jabir Herbert Muhammad, who is a known chief aide of the Nation of Islam. He's a Muslim. So they founded this in 1973, like almost
Game
50
over,
years
Corley.
ago.
Game over, Corley.
Well, I
No,
think
go ahead.
that's inconsequential in all this. You know, there is some responsibility for Arum to do his fiduciary duty to promote his fighters.
Got to.
But he also has a responsibility to not lie when he's asked a question. So if they tell him, why don't you have Crawford and in this big pay-per-view? Well, because he's not selling them.
You think a man at
You
that
gotta
age is
be
going to
kidding me.
It's
Give a fuck.
he's
going to
not,
bring up.
to be honest.
He's going to bring up, if not the same, more proof or evidence that he's tried for this fighter.
Hold on, David.
This is
repeat
going
that.
nowhere. This is a
he
waste
has
of
a
time to even talk about right
Even
now.
ESPN
has
has
a
a little bit of a
responsibility.
responsibility as well, right?
He has a
ESPN.
responsibility
Yeah,
to not lie.
Absolutely, Don.
when asked a
Absolutely.
question. Wait, hold on.
Just like Fox has to
Well,
promote Spence
at least not today. Maybe
those
yesterday.
suck ass
yeah.
Charlo's twins.
But did anybody? Hold on. You just said Bob Arum has a responsibility to not lie when he's asked a question. You said that, right?
Listen, if you're asked,
Because I
why-
agree,
If
but
you ask why Crawford is not getting the big fights, what are you gonna tell him?
deflect. Fuck that. Pay me. Look, Terence Crawford. Pay me 700 G's, dog. I will go to bat for you, and I will promote you. I'll do what Bob Arum can never do for you. No homo.
Look,
No, this is
Yeah, but at the
ridiculous.
same time, remember this ESPN contract that Crawford got? What happened to that? There was you never saw Terence Crawford on ESPN. You never saw him doing these interviews. He also too had to go out there and do these big interviews with ESPN. Nobody else had that.
No,
He
I've
had-
seen a pretty good deal of interviews.
Yeah, I mean,
on
you
ESPN.
go on
You know,
on
like,
ESPN
yeah.
But
Plus
is he
app.
likable? Is he
Yeah,
likable?
and they have
There's
their own
some shoulder programming. There's
National
stuff
Boxing.
there.
He's been on there, but a lot of the thing is that now what's evident to me. This is what's evident to me. I've seen more energy put into Lomachenko and Tyson Fury, and to a certain degree, Teofimo Lopez than Terence Crawford. When I think that Terence Crawford is better than all of them, but it is what it is.
I haven't seen a lot towards Teofimo. I think that Teofimo creates a lot of his own buzz.
Thank
Terence
you.
Crawford doesn't.
Do you guys remember when Tiafimo and Loma were about to fight? There was so much buzz because Tiafimo really sold that fight. He had so many casuals calling me saying, "Hey, who's this guy? I really like him." They're calling me, and they don't even, you know what I mean? They saw him on ESPN, and he sold that fight. In my opinion, Tiafimo did.
What did he sell? Crying and shit. No,
No,
one
the
likes my-
Loma fight.
You remember that? That motherfucker was on TV crying, talking about, oh, no one likes my girlfriend, and it really is affected. Y'all like
And
that?
what happened? And what happened?
People
He won the
tuned
fight, right?
in.
He won the fight, right?
Wait, hold on. That ain't got nothing to do with in the ring. You talking about promoting the fight. Motherfucker was crying on TV.
People tuned in.
You know what they did? Because I know
Sell
that
your
did,
fight.
That did numbers.
If Spence cried after the accident and he ended up getting 600,000-700,000 pay-per-views bought because of it, then hey, he sold the fight.
But I know, but we not emotional like that down here, so it's all good.
They said it drew 4.2 million viewers.
Yeah, you just need Mikey to sell seats.
Right?
You need Mikey to sell
4.2
seats.
million. That's a lot.
That's a lot, and that's on free ESPN. I remember, and that was actually during the pandemic too. It won the crowd there, right?
Here's what I'm gonna say. There better be a little bit more meat to this claim and to this lawsuit, because
Smoking guns.
what I'm looking here just doesn't hold water to me. Maybe and with these cases, litigation also costs money. So discovery is a process.
Right.
Mediation is another process. There's a lot of depositions will be taken. All that costs money. So maybe they end up settling anyway, and giving Crawford a certain amount of money. Maybe they pay him the $900,000 if it is actually in the agreement with the Kavalierskas bout.
And you know what? Check this out. If he gets paid that $900,000, he gets paid off of Spence's name. God damn.
So, but
Good
luck, bud.
I'm gonna follow this closely. I'm gonna see the docket and see what's happening with the docket, and
that shit is a bowl. That shit is a bowl of milk with like 2 fucking Fruit Loops in it. They ain't shit to that.
But then that brings us to the next topic, which is PBC doesn't have money to pay its fighters and has to put shit fights on pay-per-view for $75, but is offering Canelo Alvarez $50 million to come over and sacrifice.
Well, they offered Anthony Joshua $50 million
for
too.
Mal Charlo.
Yes, they did.
Mal Charlo.
Do the
Because
math.
Mal Charlo was going to get his ass whipped by Canelo. And that's
Look. That's we can talk about that. But the problem is, and the news that came out first was Tim Smith said, we don't have the money. Matter of fact, what he did say was, I don't want to insult Terence Crawford with a low offer. So in our little group in Sparta, I was given a Tim Smith email. Someone made a post that said, if you really want the fight to happen, like write your local congressman, blah, blah, blah. So I wrote an email. I played Karen for the day and I wrote an email. And I basically said, we understand that Bob Arum may or may not have done some things and this and that, but it's a fight that the boxing public would salivate over. And then the next day, I see they make an offer to Canelo for $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
They're 100% confident that Errol Spence does not carry a pay-per-view the way you think he does. He does not. Because they're willing to do it with Mikey because he's Mexican and he's got the biggest fucking fan base in the world behind him as far as boxing goes. But they're not willing to do it with another black fighter.
Sean Porter, stop.
And what were the numbers on that fight?
Like 325, man.
By the way, was that an in-house fight?
You said what?
Was that an in-house?
That was not 325.
Yeah, of course. What was
it? It was an in-house fight, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So what's the problem with Crawford?
I don't know. It's no problem.
He's not with Bob Arum anymore. What's the problem?
It's no problem. I know that.
All right, so it's no problem. So you can offer Canelo, who's not one of their fighters, $50 million. He's a free agent, but you
Right.
can't offer Bud 10.
I have a problem with that too. But what is Bud asking for?
What? No. What's your problem with it?
No. I have no problem. I just told you. I have no problem. What is Bud asking for?
No. Do you have a problem with them saying we're not even going to make the offer?
Did he
Yes.
say that? He
Yes!
said that 100%
He did say that.
concrete.
That's the point of my argument here. They said we're not even going to bother to insult him. In my email, I wrote,
Insult him with a
I
low
said,
ball.
I said, try.
That's what he
What? Okay, so
Insult him with a low ball offer.
what's a low ball offer?
What is Bud at? That's the thing.
He
What-
made $6 million to fight Porter. What's a low ball offer?
What if Bud is asking for 20 and then they're gonna be like, we can offer you 8. We
Bud
can offer
isn't
you 10.
asking for anything.
He
Yeah.
didn't say a number.
You, as far as we know, we don't know.
Dude, what? Wait, you know you're going to recoup $50 million with Canelo?
Absolutely not. You don't know anything.
You don't know anything.
You
But
don't know.
you're willing to throw 50 out
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
But you're not willing to say, I'll try to do 25 between Spence and Bud.
Hey, I feel you. But the thing is, though,
You know why? Because they have no faith that Errol Spence can carry a pay-per-view. There's nothing to do with Bud. He's not their fighter.
he's done consistent pay-per-view numbers for 3 pay-per-views in a row. I'm not saying that.
What number? Let's
Consistently
let's see.
low.
Let's go.
consistently halfway decent. Everybody's still streaming his shit.
Right.
Right.
Corlin, you're muted.
What did he do with Mikey?
Numbers are
What did
there.
he do with Mikey? What did he do with Mikey?
What, 350, 375,
Didn't
350?
he, Dawn, didn't he just say 325? Now it's 350.
No. I said with Porter, he did 325. With Mikey, I think he did 350.
Oh, all right.
So it's
I'm looking
around
it
the
up.
same thing.
If I'm Terence Crawford, I'm changing my last name to Crawford
why?
Cito.
The reason why they're willing to answer David Carr's question about PBC not having money and pay-per-view, if you do the math, you guys are all good at math. If you do the math with the gate in the pay-per-view for the Canelo and everybody's purses take home, they end up that profit to split, however it gets split, is $24 million. That's a lot of leftover change to go
Boss.
around.
250
250 what?
pay-per-view buys with Danny
For what?
Garcia.
Oh,
250
right.
with
Yeah,
Danny.
250. Danny,
Okay, that's
Danny
it.
was the draw,
In-house.
supposedly.
And Danny's a draw, right?
Yeah, supposedly. But you know, Danny
In-house
always
fight,
had-
right?
Yeah.
What did Danny make? $50?
What was
The standard
Errol-
1.5 million that PVC paid?
Yep.
what did
First
Errol,
1.5.
what were the pay-per-view numbers with Porter?
I already told you that.
325.
Was it? It was 325, right?
But it was tracking
Oh, right,
over
okay.
300.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mikey and Spence did 360.
Okay. And then Porter and Errol did what? Because there's just
Over
a consistent
300.
number here. I'm not sitting here and I'm not like exponentially blowing up these numbers. The numbers are there. It's there. Consistently, that's what it is.
Right.
Besides
350.
Canelo,
350.
So let's
besides
talk about the
Canelo, I
numbers.
don't know
Dude,
anyone
you'd
who's-
get laughs out the fucking door with 350 a few
you get
years
laughed
ago.
out the door with 350. Okay.
What do
Yep.
you guys think of
Yep.
Crawford and
You think
Spence
350 is a
fight
big
does?
deal because Terence did 150? Dude,
I
it ain't
never
shit.
said anything.
It ain't
I never-
shit.
See,
It
this is
ain't
the thing.
shit.
I'm not doing
It
anything.
ain't
I'm not
shit.
doing anything.
Stop.
I'm just saying the numbers.
You're
are
not
there.
saying it right now. You've said it. It ain't shit. Stop.
I
They
never.
both,
I never
they're
said,
both nobodies. And what the PBC is telling me is that
Mhm.
Errol Spence is not a household name and he can't carry that pay-per-view. You put
who
him in.
is a household
Let me ask you a question. And
Go ahead.
I know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Put Spence and Ugas at Cowboy
Mhm.
Stadium. Let me see how
Mhm.
many seats you sell. Let me see.
Let's see. Let's see where it's going to be. They haven't.
Let's see how
announced
many.
the-
It's going to be pay-per-view because the Thurman
It
Barrios
won't be
pay-per-view,
73,000.
we know it's gonna be
like Canelo sold for the Billy Joe
I
Saunders
bet you,
fight.
I bet you it's not 47,000 like he did with Mikey.
Okay.
Listen, if
So
you
that
take
starts to tell
Spence
me that Spence ain't the draw that you think he is.
I never.
He ain't selling the
He's supposed to be
pay-per-views.
the top guy.
No. Yes, you do. You always say Spence this, Spence that. Nobody knows him outside of boxing. Nobody.
What do you guys think a Spence versus Crawford fight does in pay-per-views? Buys 500,000.
Probably no way.
450,000.
Well, I'm gonna say 500 as a
Well,
base.
what did
what?
Fury
But
Wilder 3 make?
Here's my point. Here's my point to this. At 500,000 pay-per-views, that's $40 million. Half of it is going to go to the networks. That's going to leave 20. 20% is going to go towards production and to the promoter. That
600, Dawn. 600.
That leaves $16 million for the purse. Okay? So is $16 million enough for Spence and Crawford to fight?
9 million and 7 million.
Don't forget the gate, David. But think about, like, if you take Wilder 3 with Fury, that was a lot of hype and buildup. And a lot of people saw that fight. And even that, all that hype and buildup, and it only came up with
600,000.
600. That's
Why
not a
is
lot.
this happening?
They
Why is
needed
it happening?
2 fights to make
3.
600 out of the third fight. And you
Yeah.
know what? You want to know the other reason why it didn't do well? Because everybody knew Wilder lost the first 2. That's why. So they
That's
were like,
true.
"What's the
That's
point
true.
of this? What's the
Yeah,
fucking
you're
point
right.
of this?"
Yeah, that's true, Joey.
So what is happening with pay-per-view then? Is it a pay-per-view issue? Has pay-per-view been so watered down and devalued by certain outfits that people just don't care to buy them? Or is it a matter of the ease of finding links from Quarling Duran to be able to watch the fights for free? Or is it or is it
I
an
think it
issue
was
with
timing.
the fighters?
In this case for Porter and Spence, I think a lot of it was timing. Everybody was tired of all the pay-per-views by then. There was all these fights back to back. And I think by the time it got to them, it was just way at the end. And they basically got whoever was willing to fork over that money. And then there's the no hype part of it.
I mean, we
But
just
it
had,
was way
we
at
just
the end
had
of the year.
Gervonta
What did-
Davis.
What did
against
Canelo
the
do at
guy-
Plant? How much did
Against
Canelo
the
do
guy
at Plant?
nobody has seen.
Oh, Joey, it's a
think-
lot.
I think he did 800.
800.
Okay, so I would say Spence and Crawford does half that because it's basically, a unification. If he's doing an Ugas fight first, so it will be for all the marbles. You got one guy with 3 belts and one guy with 1. Same thing, except they're nowhere near as popular as Canelo. So let's say it does half. What's 400,000 times $80?
You're looking at a purse of $12 million when it's all said and done. After you take
Check
everything
You
this
know
out.
what?
Check this out. Let me tell y'all because I guess with me, I'm not into the language of impediment. I want fights to happen. I don't poke holes negatively in things. I keep everything pretty positive.
If you wanted fights to happen, you would have been as pissed as I am right now, because fights are not.
I'm
happening.
not. I can't get pissed in how business and how money moves. That's just how money moves. It is
But
what it
then
is.
why be mad at Bob? Bob is the man that brought in Cotto, brought in all these guys like Cotto and the Margaritos and the money he was making and the Pacquiaos. Like Bob was like great. They were making a shit ton of money.
But I'll tell you this.
That
because
now we
I
have the
see-
environment of today.
But I see each fighter like now. Number one, believe it or not, the Cottos, the Pacquiaos, all that was a different era, right? That was the era before this one. Times were different. Even if you're talking about 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, times were different.
Exactly.
Everything was different. But everything before is a culmination into right now. And that's the shit that sucks. But each of these fighters, though, to me, it's an isolated incident. You can't, like, no one is going to sit here, and you can't expect me to not talk shit about Bob Arum when he's over here openly bashing Crawford in the media, but you can't tell me, like, oh, he had Cotto and he did a good job with that. Nah. That's not good enough. Each of these fighters is its own separate entity.
Let me Ask you a question. Do you think that Bob would have ever said anything in regards to Crawford about Crawford had he been bringing in the money and like, you know what I mean? Like, if we give you the red carpet, you know, we give you everything in a silver spoon, and you come through, you know, tenfolds, and everything is supposed to be as it is, as projected. Do you think Bob would have said those things?
I think Bob would have said something still similar, or he would have lied, or he would have said something that was detrimental to Terence Crawford, even if he was making all the money and all this.
You're saying each fighter is its own entity, right?
Right.
Okay, so case by case basis.
Right.
In that 23 pages, why are you bringing up shit from the 1970s then?
I didn't write the lawsuit. That shit is written. It's trash. So I didn't write that. So it's whatever. I don't write stuff like that. But if you're talking about a case by case basis, that's exactly what it is. You can't promote Cotto the way you promote Crawford, the way you promote Pacquiao, the way you promote Lomachenko. That's why I think that these dudes get paid millions to what they have to do. You have to be intuitive enough in order to be like, you know what? This is this guy, and I'm going to attack this. I'm going to attack this audience. Now, one of the best things that that I think that Bob did with Terence Crawford is that he built him a home base first. He put him in Nebraska. That's what's up, because he was doing big game. In Nebraska, he was selling out like crazy. That's what you do. And then I think it was a lot of fights over in New York, and then that's it.
And then he stepped him up and brought him out of his home base, like he does with every other fighter, and takes him to New York and takes him to.
And he put him in the big room, and he sold 14,000 tickets.
Right.
I mean,
dude.
And then sell the tickets.
And then I can buy a house in Beverly Hills with all the money. See, then
well, you know what? With all the money that Crawford made, he could buy a fucking house in Beverly Hills still.
You keep chipping away.
What about Corey Stevenson's? I hear people say that Bob doesn't know how to promote a black fighter, and they'll bring up Floyd, but he promoted Floyd. You know, he did well with Floyd.
Listen, even Shakur Stevenson is named in this claim, in this complaint.
Hey, it is what it is. And look, I'm gonna tell you, all of the stuff that you're saying is fine, but as long as this dude is your fighter, you have a duty to do right by you. And then that's it. Bash everybody else except for your own client. What the fuck? Like, in what business world am I gonna sit here? Like, we have a hot sauce company that's staying at my job. What the fuck am I gonna do? I'll be like, hey man, this hot sauce is gross. Like, these motherfuckers are giving me business. So then, I'm gonna big up.
You're not even supposed to be working there anymore.
Then that
brings up business. What if they're not bringing you business?
So then that brings up the next thing.
They're there.
Which is that segues right into this last fight that just happened between Gary Russell Jr. and who was it that he fought?
Masayo.
And suddenly you have a Gary Russell Jr. saying that he wasn't treated right by his promoter, advisor, or whoever he is.
You know, if you could drag Dana White's comments into your lawsuit, if I was Top Rank, I would drag in Gary Russell Jr.'s comments. Fuck it. Why not?
Well, Top Rank has to answer the complaint, and they've actually, I think they've attempted to move the case over to a different case. I'm not sure if it's in federal court. I'll have to look at the docket and see what they're trying to do. Instead of district court, move it to federal court, which is going to cost Crawford a little bit more money. So
probably why they're doing it. That's fine. That's, you know.
But they have to answer the complaint. They have to file an answer with the court about the complaint, because if not, they can end up with a summary judgment. So that's going to come. That happens in most every other lawsuit. Where it
happens in all my workers' comp lawsuits.
The defendant ends up filing an answer to the complaint. But yeah, if we're talking about fighters not being mistreated, then what's going on with Gary Russell Jr.?
What did they say? They made him fight injured, right? Is that what that was?
Right.
Mm.
He was told that he needed to fight injured, or else he wasn't going to fight.
The show must go on,
He
basically.
hadn't fought in 2 years. I mean, he's supposed to be one of their
He's
fighters.
claiming that they were trying to get him to move up in weight and drop his belt so that they could move Maxayo up and get him the belt. He's claiming a lot of stuff that we haven't heard from any PBC fighter or any Al Heyman fighter at all, except for maybe
Right.
one. I can't remember who it was that was there.
Vanez, Matarozu,
It's Marty Rose.
Yeah, Martirosyan.
Baines.
So
Yeah, I remember.
It doesn't make sense because these guys have to see a doctor and they have a full blown physical. So I don't know how like a doctor to if he was sick.
well,
Oh, you're just realizing that boxing's corrupt?
No,
he's claiming that he injured his shoulder, and it was an old injury from his amateur days, from his AMI days, and that it resurfaced in training. And he was told that too bad,
Too bad. Yeah.
too bad.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know how
a lot of
strenuous the
fans wanted to sue Manny.
I don't know how strenuous the doctor's examination of a
Very
pre-fight.
strenuous. Yeah, there's a lot of cognitive stuff that goes on.
Okay.
They have to lift, they have to do like things with their arms, legs, everything.
But now, does it matter from state to state? Because each commission is a little bit different.
That
If you
could be
talking
true.
about down in Texas, trash, right? But the Vegas, the New York commission, those are a little bit more stringent. So that's why I was gonna ask. Same thing with like the California commission. It might be a little bit more stringent. But where did Gary Russell fight? It wasn't in DC. Where was it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that can matter, right?
Let me see. I'll tell you right now. Russell Jr. I saw the fight. I saw Maxayo win the fight. It was what it was.
Yeah. Gary was noticeably hurt though.
Oh yeah, he was.
He was hurt. Like you can tell.
It was in Atlantic City at the Borgata.
Okay.
So in New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey, Atlantic City has put on a whole bunch of fights. But I mean, hey, what is their commission like? How stringent is it? Can things slip through the cracks?
The
You know,
Borgata is not known for fights. It was always Boardwalk Hall. Borgata is,
That's right.
is one of the newer last 10, 15 years maybe.
They're probably trying to bring that vibe back.
Maybe.
Yeah. And probably a little bit cheaper than doing it in New York. So they just do it in New Jersey, which is a stone's throw away.
Yeah, it's not for us. Plus you have the insurance laws the new insurance laws that popped up like 2 or 3 years ago here too.
I got you.
But that never scared PVC away from the Barclays. It never scared Top Rank away from the Garden. They have always had their events there after. I thought it would be like the death of boxing here, and it wasn't. And now they got a new arena, maybe 15 minutes from my house, which is where the Islanders play. And it looks similar to the American Airlines Arena in Dallas. It looks like that kind of.
So I say this. I say that Gary has some. He has some responsibility in all this. He has some fault in all this because Gary is a guy that just doesn't fight enough. He doesn't fight enough.
Shit.
And I've seen him turn down fights because the money isn't right. But you're not a draw, and that's where we come to this regarding what's fair and what's not fair. Do you pay a fighter an excess amount of dollars even though they can't draw people to see their fights, or do you just reduce that pay so that it's balanced and equal to what they're drawing?
Yes,
Because
exactly. Remember the
Got it.
Regendow situation. I remember a lot of people were upset and shitting on Bob about like Bob. He just said, "Look, he's not a draw. He's not a draw. People aren't coming in." Fine. HBO tried to do something. HBO said the same thing. They couldn't do anything. Rock Nation, same thing. They tried to do something with him because he's good. Same thing. Now he's with Heyman.
He's with
Where's
Heyman.
that at now?
He's swept under the rug. He does nothing. He does no numbers. Nobody's interested in him.
so do we keep paying
It-
these guys those
It
prices?
won't be the first time that Bob couldn't promote. Like you were saying, oh, he's got like an all-time great promoter, blah blah blah, right? That's what you're saying, Horling? He makes
What he's
every
known
single fighter. He makes every single fighter a household name. He gets him to fight Lomachenko on
Mhm.
ESPN, and the fucking guy quits after 6 rounds. And you want him to be a household name?
Mm-mm. I want him to try. That's it.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
bad.
he
Him in
didn't.
the media also, and that was before the Lomachenko fight.
Well,
After the Donaire fight, he was bashing this guy.
isn't
you have to try.
isn't getting a Donaire and a Lomachenko fight trying?
Yeah.
Isn't that you going
That's
at
like
bat
you're at
for
the
your
top of the
fighter?
pinnacle.
Okay, so are you now?
And he won the
you know what?
Donaire fight. He won that
Yeah.
fight.
He won
He
the
won that
Donaire
fight.
fight.
I was at the fight. I was at both of them.
But let me ask you this though. Immediately after the Donaire fight, is trying like he bores the crowd and he does this. Why can't he's seen a whole bunch of boxing? He's seen more boxing than all 4 of us put together. Why can't you sit there and talk about the technical aspects? Why can't you talk about like, hey, man, this guy is really good. That's why I did this. I wanted you to bring you this big matchup,
right.
and I'm trying to show you.
Maybe
you gotta
maybe
try. You
Maybe he does,
maybe
but
Bob
he
is
follows
running out
with-
of time. He
Pay
don't
me-
have
pay me
the
to promote.
he don't have the energy that Eddie Hearn has. That he can
He-
sit there and point out the good in this and the good in that and like all the
Then that's
positives.
why
You don't have that
Pay
energy.
me to promote.
Bob says those things, but then he follows it with, "Look, the fans don't like it. The fans don't like this style." He says all the good things, but he always follows it with the facts, and he's always not the
Yep.
He was just
Bob
Yep.
He
didn't
doesn't
talk.
say it in a
Bob
pretty
didn't
package.
talk shit about Rigondeaux after the Donaire fight. He talked shit about Rigondeaux after the stinkers he was putting up on TV, where
Right.
fans were booing, people were pissed off in the stands, people weren't watching because
Right.
Rigondeaux was just sitting there, just pop, and ran the whole fight.
Yeah, I remember
But
that. You're right. You were bullied.
Once
The
again,
same
and look,
thing.
I'm gonna tell you, y'all would probably whatever it is that y'all do in y'all spare time. If you were being offered millions to do what you do, you would try a little bit harder. I'm talking about David. That was after that Joseph Ekbeko fight. That's when HBO and all of them, they shat on Rigo, and so did Bob Arum. But you know what you do? You turn it around. You parlay it into, well, because my fighter is such a lethal counterpuncher, he's so quick with his counters, that's why Joseph Ekbeko didn't want to engage. This is what you do. You keep turning it around into a positive.
You can turn it around as much as you want, but the fans in the stands, if they're booing, and the commentators are trying to make something up.
Who's believing that? Are you believing that?
Yep. You put the energy.
You're
out
gonna
there.
believe that.
Anything Bob says, though, now
Absolutely. I watched
You don't
the fight.
believe anything he says, and you're gonna believe that. What I'm saying is
I watched the fight.
maybe some dumb casual fan who watches every now and then we know a casual fan is not sitting there looking for interviews after the fight to see what Bob Arum says. They're not. They're watching it because it's on. They're watching it because they're in a bar and their friends are watching it, and they say, "Okay, everybody's watching a fight. I'll watch."
Right.
Let's not pretend
Okay.
that what Bob Arum said about fucking Rigondeaux actually mattered. It didn't.
It does
didn't.
matter.
It doesn't.
Every single thing that you say, the energy that you put out here,
Stop
that
it.
shit matters, man.
Nope.
And the same
No, it
thing.
doesn't.
Think about this. Would it Lampley do? Would it Larry Merchant do?
Yeah,
They
look
were
at Larry
sitting here and
Merchant.
they
He talked shit
talking
about Floyd,
shit.
and Floyd, it didn't matter what Larry Merchant said. Floyd still was Floyd.
He got into a
Until-
fucking argument with him in the
No,
ring, and it made it
He
better.
broke away. He broke away. It's hard to bring up Floyd because he is an anomaly, but Floyd broke away.
let's not bring
When he
up
broke
Floyd.
away, right? And when he broke away, that's when things started becoming better. But it was the same shit.
Once
Cotto
Floyd
broke
became-
away. Did that make him any better?
Who?
No.
Cotto? Miguel Cotto.
Cotto was on a fight-by-fight basis. He was still with
Cotto
Bob, right?
broke away. Cotto sued Bob.
Okay. I thought Cotto.
What did Cotto
always-
sue Bob for?
I don't remember, but he sued him.
He was with De La
I
Hoya
thought
on a
he-
fight
I
by
thought
fight basis.
I thought he
Okay.
was with Bob on a fight-by-fight
I thought it
basis.
was Golden Boy.
After they settled.
Hmm. What did? Yeah, I was gonna say, what did Cotto sue him for?
I don't remember, but I saw it on the.
I thought
Okay.
it was with
I saw it
Golden
on
Boy on a
Pacer.
fight by fight basis.
Yeah. I thought that's what it was. I thought he was kind of like a top ranked lifer, but he was a free agent also that just chose Bob on, whatever fight, and then that's it. I thought that's how it worked with Cody. But
Well,
I mean, hey,
I'm on
it's
Pacer
cool.
right now.
It's cool. I can't sit here and I can't defend Bob about anything. I can't. Not when he puts this type of stuff out there. And the thing is that this dude, Bob, has leaks in the media. And the media sits there and they put that old fucking shit out there and they regurgitate that, which leaks into the fans, which leaks into their thoughts and beliefs. It's all fucking cyclical, and that shit is
You
all
don't think that
toxic.
the
I don't like
LWC or whoever the Aerospace fans were, they added a lot of shit against Terence Crawford, and now suddenly they want to like root and rally for Terence Crawford because it's against Bob, or you know what I mean? Like now he's leaving
See.
Bob, so now we're all on Terence Crawford's side.
No.
know,
It's
No.
because what they wrote in that opening statement, it's against a grumpy old white man.
Right.
I can tell you,
That's
me personally, I don't look. I think what I think.
if anybody's dragging race into this, it's whoever wrote that.
Hey, for sure. But that's with the permission of Terence Crawford, too. That's with the permission of Crawford. I mean, hey, I don't
Good luck
I don't
proving
know-
it.
I don't know what
Good
kind
luck.
of,
Good luck proving it.
but I mean, it is what it is, though. Those are Crawford's feelings, I guess. That was put in there. Hey, man, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. But if you're talking about rallying around Terence Crawford now, Terence Crawford, I've always said the same things about him. He's a spectacular fighter. He's my number one pound for pound. It just is what it is, and he's earned that. Now, if you're asking me to choose between him and Arum, you already know where I stand. But that doesn't mean that I'm anti-Crawford. It just means that based on the styles, I think that Arrow's gonna win, and I'm pulling for him because he's the hometown. He's the home state product, and then that's it. But anything else, as far as like, I never.
You're not a
backed
homer.
Crawford.
You
The
root
only-
for the
Huh?
LA/Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders.
You
That's
root
right.
for the Los Angeles Dodgers. You root for the
That's
Los
exactly
Angeles
right.
Lakers.
Leave him
Yep,
alone.
that's exactly
Leave
right.
him
You should-
alone. I'm
You
okay
should
with
live
it.
about 2 hours
It's
north
a
of
lot
Dawn.
it's a
is
lot
where you
that
should
goes
live.
with that. It's a lot that goes with that. I got just as much family in California as probably any of y'all
Well,
have.
you're over there with the Dallas Cowboys, so
And Texas and
Well,
California.
I live in America, and it's America's team, so that's that.
Texas and California kind of go hand in hand like this too. So it's that's why everybody like Don is moving over here. Then
mhm.
that's it.
She's moving to South Dakota where nobody can find her.
Lord have mercy.
South
Good
Dakota.
luck. You gonna
Are
be
you
begging for
nuts?
that.
That's funny.
You gonna be begging for the.
She better stay right where she is because I need my vacation home in San Diego.
Yeah. Who wants to take a vacation to South Dakota?
Nobody. I've never visited there.
Man,
Maybe
I'll
maybe
never
if
never
it's
went,
the
ever.
last state, like I just need to check that one off the bucket list. Maybe.
Is that where Mount Rushmore is, or is it in North Dakota or Wyoming? Where's Mount
Wyoming,
Rushmore?
I think.
My Mount Rushmore
Okay,
is
well-
in North Dakota, I think.
Is it North Dakota? Well, then I have no reason to go to South Dakota.
So to close, let's close
It is what
the
it is.
show. I just want to end with your prediction on how many pay-per-views Thurman versus Barrios does.
Oh, this is great.
35,000. And I'm pulling for Barrios. That's the hometown kid. It is what it is. But let's just be for real. 35,000. I can't stand Keith Thurman. I hope Barrios knocks his block off.
Well,
Knocks
of
his
course,
face
I
all
am
the way
going
over
to.
there.
I'm going to go for my hometown guy, Keith Thurman, out of Clearwater, Florida, where the beach is, and I think it'll do maybe 40,000.
Maybe.
Maybe
Dawn?
40,000.
But you go ahead and give yours, Joe. I'm still thinking.
I think it's gonna do 25,000, and they're gonna lie about it.
Well,
And
they never really show their numbers
Right.
anyway. But they're gonna lose
You're-
money.
you're-
this fight.
you're never gonna hear. Yeah, they're losing money, and I don't see Keith Thurman losing, but maybe because he cut his hair, he lost his power, and he loses. So I'm gonna say Mario Barrios wins.
Mario Barrios, the guy that just got his head knocked off by little pygmy Gervonta Davis. He's not winning shit in this fight.
Yeah, well, I don't give a shit, so I can say whatever I want.
Well, this is an elimination fight, right? This is a elimination fight for the.
Imagine Barrios wins and he forces a mandatory with Spence, and
Listen,
that's what blocks the
listen to
Crawford fight.
this.
This
Listen
is
to-
you can't
No.
fucking make this up.
Listen
With
to
this
this
stupid
thing.
PVC.
Listen to this. The WBC has made this fight an eliminator for the welterweight championship, right? But they've also removed Mario Barrios from their rankings because of Mario Barrios' inability to sign up with VADA, with the drug testing company.
Oh,
So how do you make this fight an eliminator when one of the guys isn't even ranked in your own rankings? This
Wait,
is
hold on. Let me.
shit.
you know
Oh,
why?
shit.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you why. It's very easy. It's very dirty. They know Marius is not going to win. So they don't care about that part of it. They know Keith Thurman's going to win. So they're just going to push it through, and Thurman's going to fight Spence. And Corling says that Thurman and Crawford are going to fight this year, but it's never going to happen. And I'm going to get like Crawford. And I'm going to say, well, I don't think he needs it for his legacy. Obviously, Spence doesn't want to fight. He'll just do what he does, and that'll be that. I hope it never fucking happens. I hope it never happens now.
And so
What's
apparently,
gonna-
so apparently, Crawford's next fight is going to be with guess who?
Spence.
Nope.
It's going to be with Top Rank. It's going to
Check
be
this
with Top
out.
Rank, and he's going to fight
Yeah.
the 140-pound champion.
We're,
So-
He's gonna
we're
fight Josh
talking to-
Taylor.
He's
Right.
going to fight Josh Taylor because you know what? He's not going to fight anybody in the PVC. So
We're talking to the same people that
And
was
fighting
making a
Josh
big
Taylor
deal.
is a better fight than fighting anybody else in the PBC, with the
That's true.
exception of Errol Spence.
We're
Mhm.
talking to the
fight.
same people because I'm listening to y'all right now. We're talking to the same people that were making a big deal with the WBA, talking about what's it called? Ugas had to fight in some tournament against Stanis Baratheon and all this crap, man.
Stannis
So-
Baratheon.
Stanis Baratheon. Y'all need to go ahead and stop. The WBC already came out and said that this isn't going to be for the mandatory of Errol Spence's belt, which further gives me hope.
you're on mute.
This year, it will be Errol and Bud, and then you already know Bud can get his face.
What are you gonna say when it's not?
It's
What'd you
not
say?
gonna be done
What are you
this
gonna say
year.
when it's not? It's not happening.
Yeah, it's not. I don't see it.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
All right.
The only way that it won't happen is if any kind of extenuating circumstances, something bad happens.
Well, they get
Another
Dr. Nate, so he needs
Documentation.
to happen.
Yeah. Don't bore
It's
me.
gonna- it'll
Don't
happen.
bore me at 37 years old each. I don't give a fuck by then.
That's not going to happen either. You're not going to have to worry about that. Both of these guys are tethered to each other until they fight.
Well,
It
you
just
know
is
what?
it is.
You're right. They should be because they're both nobodies, and the most money they're gonna make is fighting each other once, twice, 3 times.
There you
And
go.
they'll fight. They'll fight. And they'll probably rematch each other at 154.
Because nobody cares about Keith Thurman this weekend or next weekend, and nobody cares about it against Spence.
And that's exactly right. And Errol already said that I'm not going to fight him because he avoided me
But
before.
you know what's going to help that fight is the debut of all the Fernando's, Vargas kids. They're all on this undercard, so I think that's going to really help sell this fight. Like they're out there like promoting it big time. So that's I think going to help it if anything. You know, if it was just Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios, probably wouldn't do as well. But I think
maybe on the gate, but not on the pay-per-view.
No.
That boy,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they won't be on a telecast. They won't be.
Right.
that boy Leo Santa Cruz is on the card too.
You have to be a phenomenal talent to make it on a pay-per-view in your debut. You have to be like Loma to be on that. To get you'll be the first fight of 4 on the pay-per-view. And that's probably not gonna happen.
Well,
All right, motherfuckers.
Corlin, you're on mute. Dawn's on mute. So
So I'm
anyway,
with you, David. I think
let's
it's going to be
see what-
40,000 as well.
let's see what happens with that fight. They're gonna lose money in that fight.
40,000.
This just tells me that
I
they don't
think
have-
Canelo's gonna say no, and they're gonna be real broke.
they don't have the monies to pay their fighters, and there's no money coming in neither from Showtime nor from Fox. Anything in substance, no substantial money coming to even get these guys on TV. So they have to go this route, and they have to put them on pay-per-view and hope that they get some traction off of that.
Right. If you're willing to take that chance with Thurman and Barrios, you should be willing to take that chance with Spencer Crawford. And if you're not, that means you don't have any. You know that Crawford can't carry the pay-per-view, and you might not think he can win either.
And you know that Spence can't carry it by himself either.
And by the way, if I'm Canelo, I reject both contracts. I reject the Charlo contract, or I take it and I beat the shit out of him, or I reject both, and then I tell Eddie Hearn, I only want the Bivol fight. I don't want to fight Golovkin again. It's not going to do anything for me.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Safe feel that bass. We gon' shake up this place. Say pick up that pace. Yeah, we got no time to waste. Everybody say feel that bass. Yeah, we gon' shake up this place. Pick up